I'd like to call to order meeting of the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board of Education meeting for March 13th, 2012. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Snowblend?
Here.
Mr. Edson? Mr. Block? Mr. Scribner? Mr. Bergner?
Here.
Mr. Carey?
Here.
Mrs. Golan?
Here. Thank you. I don't have a president's report tonight, so I will move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, board members, thank you, and members of the audience, thank you for being here tonight also. First of all, just a couple of miscellaneous things. Tomorrow night, we're having a special session being sponsored by the high school and bringing in Stedman Graham to speak to our community. He'll be actually here all day. Jennifer Knight has done a good job of arranging for him to meet with students, some faculty, and he'll be speaking to our community on a topic titled Your Passport to Success. So I hope anybody that has any interest in this is welcome to come and hear Stedman Graham. Secondly, I would like to just mention that we've had several tragedies in our community over the last year or two, and I'm going to make just a general comment about it. I'm going to turn to Jay Hoffman, and then I think we're going to end up going to Jennifer Knight, and then also, and we've got some special guests here too. So it's sort of a potpourri of things. The first thing I just would like to say, board members, is that we have launched a community effort at trying to take a look at ways that we can help individuals and families that are in crisis in our community, both with respect to how the high school itself can improve its practices in helping students, youth that we have a responsibility for when there's a great deal of stress or distress going on, but it's also about how in the community neighbors, friends, family members, other agencies, how are we staying coordinated, communicated? You know, how do we help people in our community when there is a great deal of distress going on? So Dr. Julie Cooley is helping by leading a small group who's doing some initial planning on looking at things from a family, individual, and distress point of view much more broadly across the whole community. We have volunteers from other agencies that are assisting, and I'm pleased to report that Lake Forest Hospital is stepping up with both personnel and some financing to assist with doing better coordination across the entire community. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming months, and would like to also just say thank you to those agency heads who are already participating in this. Also, so let me go to Jay, and then I feel like we're going to kind of go off in some different directions here also. But Jay, if you just for your follow-up, okay?
I'd like to thank Dr. Griffith for realizing that the need for a community group that can look at the mental health issues that we have in our community and help the school kind of mourn the loss of the last 4 students. It is wonderful that we have a great community that has resources, and if we kind of band together, we're going to find some really good solutions and kind of some good areas to go. The school has taken a pretty proactive stance in bringing some programming not only to our faculty and our staff to get them trained, but we also had some programming for our parents and some programming planned for our students. Harry and I met with Metra today, the train Metra company, and we had a very good visit with them. They've given us their support and are going to help us in some initiatives. A group of us from the high school are going to Barrington to talk to their administration as they suffered similar losses along the way, try to find out some things from them that we can maybe help bring to our community. But the fact that all of us together are coming together at this time with the help of the hospital and the police department and all the other agencies is really a great thing, so we're really happy about that.
Okay, well, we also are trying to be as holistic about this as possible, helping our students And also taking a look at, there are efforts at the high school going on a constant basis among our students who are just doing really, really awesome things at the high school. So I thought it would be appropriate to shift now to Jennifer Knight, board members who will give you a brief overview of some of the social, emotional, wellness issues and activities going on at the high school. And then we also, she'll be doing some introductions too.
Good evening. Hi there. I know that this fall we had a little bit of a conversation about an overview of where we've come with our emotional wellness initiative over the past 5 years. And a large part of that conversation is the shift we've had over time to our students. So we thought this might be an opportune moment to focus in a little bit on that, not only because it's pretty exciting and a highlight of what's happened in our school, but also because a couple months down the road we're going to have another big event that our students are inspiring, coordinating, and participating in mass in, and so this would be a good lead-in for that as well. As you recall, this is our 5th year in the Emotional Wellness Initiative. In our first 2.5 years, really we're focused more on the adults, and in more recent years, truly in the past probably 18 months, it has become an initiative of our students and our adults in partnership and a piece of the fabric of the school, not an item along the side, but everything we're doing. We realized along the way that there's a lot of ways that there are adults supporting students in our building, but our students want to support one another, and if we give them vehicles and avenues in which to do so, they do a fantastic job. And they understand each other in ways that we, despite the small age gap, generational gap, don't quite always understand. So some of the ways that we've had a chance to do so in our Health and Wellness for Life classes, we've really maximized that opportunity for juniors and seniors to be teacher assistants and to be models for their freshmen. In our freshman orientation day, if you remember, it used to be a few years ago a logistics introduction, which is important. Where's your locker? Who are the different adults in the building? But we decided a couple years ago that there was something even more important, and that was a welcome into the culture of the school and a welcome by fellow classmates. So now that that day is completely student-led, we have 100 of our upperclassmen leading our incoming freshmen through what we believe to be the culture of our school, and also forming that first connection to a fellow student, not only a fellow student, but a junior or senior who you know will smile at you in the hallway, not step on you. And then another piece that we've had really just grow out this year is a student athlete leadership team. And that group arose, again, out of some of our athlete leaders who wanted to give back to the rest of the student community, model good sportsmanship, model good fan behavior, and also took the opportunity to organize and lead a pep assembly this winter completely focused on school spirit between students and adults, and that was a huge success. One other piece that arose kind of grassroots out of last year's showing From Race to Nowhere is Enjoy the Journey. So I want to talk about, well, I don't want to talk about, I actually want to introduce some people with far more legitimacy to talk about not only Enjoy the Journey, but an event that we had in spring of 2010 that, due to much demand, will be returning this May. So without further ado, I'm going to have 4 of our students come up and introduce themselves for you.
Hi, I'm Jack Williams, a sophomore at Lake Forest, and this is Ingrid, Cole, and Colby. We're here to talk to you about Enjoy the Journey. My freshman class, my freshman health class, we watched snippets of Race to Nowhere, and I know Ingrid watched it. But basically, as a freshman class, we realized that high school was going to be pretty stressful. And if we didn't do anything about it, it was going to get way too stressful. We knew we had a full plate coming on our first year of high school, and I was trying to figure out what I could do about it. Sophomore year this year, I learned about Enjoy the Journey, something Ingrid started. And I became a Sherpa, is what we call it. It's someone that guides and encourages people along their four-year high school track, trying to help them with their stress levels and academic needs. There's only a couple Sherpas at the whole high school, but hopefully we're going to get this club bigger and maybe add some more people onto that. But basically, this whole Enjoy the Journey thing is off this race to nowhere, and it's all focused on the stresses of academic life right now. Ingrid's going to talk to you more about Enjoy the Journey.
So Enjoy the Journey is a movement that emphasizes slowing down and enjoying high school rather than racing blindly through it in a quest for extreme success. We've created a website that acts as a forum for discussing stress in hopes of making others' journeys a little bit easier. The tagline, "Vent your stress, share your success," suggests that the website has become a place for students to seek advice, give helpful tips, and share their own small victories in overcoming academic pressure. A few students, nicknamed Sherpas because we guide you on your journey to de-stressing, are always there to answer questions and give advice. We want students to know that they're not alone on this climb. Stress is a part of high school, but we believe that it should not be synonymous with high school. The walk that's coming up this May is a perfect example of what Enjoy the Journey stands for. It's a break in the day when teachers and students walk, not run, 2.5 miles together to reach a goal together. You'll look around and see everyone wearing the same shirt, meshing as a school community. It's all about not taking the day too seriously and truly enjoying the time that we have in high school. Life is a journey, not a race, and certainly not a race to nowhere.
Lake Forest High School is filled with fantastic, hardworking people, from our faculty and our administrators down to our school body. Yet it seems that almost every student tries to navigate their way through the myriad pressures of college, extracurriculars, sports, standardized testing, and even those daunting hours of homework each school night, alone. Our LFHS community has some outstanding resources, such as the counselors and the social workers at our school. However, our school is also very, very competitive. Walking through the halls, it's easy to forget how fun and exciting the high school experience is supposed to be. We see students running from class to class, simply hoping to make it through the day so they can get home and study once again. It's easy for us as students and even as teachers and staff to get sucked into this cycle. With immense pressure and seemingly impossible amount of assignments, we seem to have forgotten what it means to be a part of this wonderful community of peers and educators and administrators. High school should be about the experience, learning how to deal with adversity and pressure, while still retaining the youthfulness and energy that make us the people we are. This is where Enjoy the Journey fits in. No one should be forced to undertake the race that high school has become on his or her own. Our goal is to create an environment where the students can join together, discussing ways that they have navigated through the pressures that students universally face, and even the methods that they have utilized to make our school as enjoyable and fun as possible. We must embrace the journey that students make during their 4 years here, as opposed to the end results of high GPAs, ACT scores, and building our resumes for college. Enjoy the Journey provides a comprehensive student group, open to everyone that makes their way through these struggles just as we do. This community of teachers and students should all be focused on becoming better people with less stress, instead of competing with each other day in and day out to be the best and reach the most prestigious colleges. Enjoy the Journey hopes to foster this positive attitude and provide a student-led support group that can provide huge relief in the midst of our shared stressful environment. This simple goal can, in time, create a more empathetic and understanding school environment, filled with students who care for each other and themselves, as opposed to running the race we call school alone.
Looking back on my sophomore year, the walk is something that really stands out. I remember walking amongst my friends, classmates, and teachers, because how many schools can say that they walked 2.5 miles with their whole school in the same t-shirt? On behalf of the students of LFHS, we would like to invite you to join us on May 21st, because on that day, we will take a step back from our busy daily routines and just enjoy the company of our community. In that moment, we're not just a club, a sports team, or a class. We're all together as one. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for, of course, and I just also want to give them credit that not only have they come here and presented, but they also presented to our entire faculty last Friday, and it was especially appropriate and I think our faculty are especially grateful as well. So I wanted to extend a thank you from the entire faculty as well. Thank you, guys.
Jack and Ingrid and Cole Colby, thank you so much. Great job again. Very good. It's the third time I've heard you, and it's great every time. So thank you so much.
I would just like to add that the walk is May 21st. It's a Monday. And while the students and their teachers will be walking together as third periods, we do have one special guest that will appear at the Enjoy the Journey walk, and that is Dr. Griffith, who will be leaving us. So not only will our student body be able to clap our seniors out, but we'll also be able to send our superintendent off in a great way.
Thank you. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman and Dr. Griffith, and thank you, students. We enjoyed that, and I hope it wasn't too stressful for you. Great job. Moving on, we have public participation. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the board on a matter that's not on the agenda, they can come up to the microphone now. Just give your name and address.
Hi, my name's Kim Munoz, 1130 Mount Vernon, Lake Forest, Illinois. And not to add to the stress, my subject is stress, but my question is, or my suggestion, I started thinking about how Lake Forest High School determines GPA. And I was curious because right now it's based on the number of A's and B's a student has. There's no weight given to minuses or pluses, so someone without a fairly high GPA could technically be on the honor roll. And my question I started thinking about is, how do other schools determine their honor rolls? So I called a dozen schools in the area, Loyola, New Trier, Lake Forest Academy, Glenbrook North, South, Libertyville, Buffalo Grove, Evanston, all the North Shore schools. I even called our new superintendent's school in Michigan, and they all use GPA to determine honor roll. They have different, 3.2 out of 4 is 1. Some schools are 3.6 out of 4. They have different levels. Some have high and regular. Some have 3 levels. But they all use GPA. So I just was wondering why we don't adopt the standard that everyone else in our area is using to determine this. And my reason for thinking it is because I started kind of looking at our GPAs and our weighted classes and realizing that there could be kids often that have very high GPAs, higher than actually the minimum 3 A's and 3 B's, but they're not on the honor roll because of one extra B somewhere. So that is my question, suggestion. And I'm happy to share the people I spoke with or the criteria. I'm not sure what you can do with this information or where it will go or how you can take it or discuss it, but it's something that I think as a high school it would serve our students well if we were conforming with all the other schools that we are around, and that's it.
Thank you, Kim. We'll take that on advisement and maybe get some more information from Mr. Hoffman and one of his
Sure.
teams. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to our reports. Dr. Griffith?
Yes, Jen Herman, are we going to do this separate from what we just did? You know what happened, board members? I decided to morph this report into, so that our students could go home a little. They had some homework again tonight, so. So we actually just gave our report, update on some of the activity going on, culminating with the walk, so the journey. So that concludes the report. Well, Jay's over. Do you want to say anything? Well, how about maybe Julie or Jay could say something about last night? That's a good idea. Let's.
Sure.
Why don't you start with the faculty and then mention last night?
After the tragic events and trying to figure out exactly how to proceed, We knew that our students were hurting, and that was really where we put our first effort, was to making sure our students were in good shape and were being taken care of. Our social workers did a great job. All our counselors, all the adults in the building, our teachers, really did a good job taking care of our students. Once we kind of got out of that triage moment where we knew our students were in good shape, they were with their families, we were starting to heal a little bit. We figured that we really needed to reach out to our teachers. We had an Institute Day planned for March 2nd, and the decision was made to kind of scrap the morning part of the Institute Day, which really was to discuss honor roll and GPA and some other ideas that our teachers need to weigh in on. And we've decided to scrap those ideas and go to some healing for our faculty. And we brought in Dr. John Yoakum, who is a psychologist who works with a lot of our kids and we've had a relationship with for several years across all aspects of our high school. We had him in, and he gave an hour-and-a-half presentation to our faculty about adolescent behaviors and depression and things that lead teens to the brink. He really helped our faculty start the healing, inform them, was a lot of good data, really hit the spot for our faculty. It was well received. And that's what Jen referred to earlier. Our students came right off the heels of that conversation with our faculty, and when they came in, 20 strong of them, it really brought us back to what we were all about. So it was a really great day for our faculty. Dr. John Yoakum really did a great job. We decided that would be important for him to come in and avail him to our parents. And so last night in our auditorium, we hosted about 180 people were there. To watch and listen to Dr. Yoakum talk about the same concepts. A little bit different of a bent, a little more statistical, a little bit more about things beyond the instant that our faculty needed. But it was really a great presentation. He talked for about an hour and 45 minutes and then entertained questions for about a half an hour. And it was very well received by our parents and by those in need. We also are having him come back and doing some training of our teachers on what's called the gatekeeper, and that's to kind of see these signs. It was brought up at the meetings last night during the questions that this is something that we should share with our community. You know, our teachers are going to be trained on this. We're going to be well-versed in it, and we need to bring that out to our community, to the other people in our community. So that has been great. We are saving kind of the programming for our students until April, which is Adolescent Depression Week, and we had some programming planned, but we're going to kind of ramp that up, maybe double what we're doing. We also are understanding things better, getting more information from different places, relying on some of the help that's out there and some of the resources that we have. And I think our trip to Barrington is going to be a pretty good one, where we get some great ideas as they kind of have a model program that they're going to walk us through. So I think on the context of where we were with triage and a lot of kids really hurting, to take care of them, take care of our faculty, trying to take care of our parents, and planning some really great things for our kids, I think we're in really pretty good shape to try to be as preventative and as proactive as possible.
Thank you, Jay.
I'd also like to do a special shout out to Jim Thiel, John Maher, and Robert Wagaman, who kind of head up our crisis team. And those three men did a great job with the from the time we found out about the tragedy till even through last night and in the continuing week. So we thank them for their hard work.
I just wanted to add to that. The board members kind of draw straws when it comes to attending various collateral meetings, and in the past month I think I had Liaison Foundation and APT, but at the APT meeting last week, Harry and Jay both spoke. They really, APT pretty much suspended their normal agenda so that they could hear from Harry and Jay about this situation, and I know it was really very much appreciated by the APT board members to hear what it was that the school was doing. They were full of complimentary comments about how quickly the school responded and how appropriately. And Also just that Harry and Jay took the time to step in and keep them informed. There were some very appropriate questions from parents, stories about what their children were bringing home with them, and it was just, it was very productive, and I think very helpful to kind of open up the two-way communication that Harry was talking about earlier that we need with the whole community so that we can all deal with tragedies together.
Okay, did anyone want to add anything? Board members, any questions or comments?
One last thing, Sharon, is we did meet with the police, as there is vital communication that we have with them and in such instances, and we were able to come to some good understandings about how best to communicate. And out of something so terrible, we have a lot of things that have come that are good.
Well, I know that every child in that building is part of your family, and Jim's and John's, and it was a tragedy for all of you and for the community. But people are pulling together and working hard, and we'll just have to stay a part of that village. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have our board committee reports. Board Education Committee, Nikki.
The Education Committee has not met since our last board meeting, and the next meeting we have on the calendar is April 4th.
Board Operations Committee, Todd Bergner.
The Operations Committee met on February 28th. Our sole agenda item was discussion of the Diamond Anniversary campaign and the rehab of the sports complex at East Campus. Within the context of that discussion, we had some debate about the establishment of new storage on that campus, because the existing storage is within the grandstands, which will be torn down and replaced. Probably the greatest portion of the discussion, though, dealt with the status of the fundraising that the boosters have achieved. And we got into discussion not only about how much has been raised, but also the makeup of the contributions and what is in the form of single pledges or single cash contributions, and what are multi-year pledges, and all of that goes to essentially the level of confidence and security that we as a district should feel about those funds actually materializing when they're needed to pay for the work that's being contemplated. The boosters shared that making certain assumptions about level of participation on the high school's part, that they think they're probably within about $500,000 or so of meeting the goal that they think they need to be able to undertake the Diamond Anniversary project, which is the returfing of the fields and replacement of the track at East Campus. The high school participation, though, still needs to be quantified. I think there's some debate about what costs will be avoided by having these new fields, what costs we have in our future, given the status quo and need to replace the existing track. How would we replace that track? Would we replace it with something equivalent to what's there, or move to what's considered to be a best practice of more lanes, wider turns, and things that would just enhance that facility and make it more modern. The track is something that needs replacing, I think, in 3 to 5 years, right? And I think that price tag ranges anywhere from $500,000 or so, maybe a little less, to upwards of $600,000 or $700,000, depending on what we want to do. And that's pretty much where we left it. I don't think there was any real decisions made or any recommendations that come out of the committee, except that the work continues from the boosters, and within certain parameters, we remain supportive of the project. It's big and fancy and would be a nice addition to the school, but one that certainly doesn't rise to the level of priority within the district, absent the support of the boosters. So we're finding the balancing point financially, I think. Future meetings are dates to be determined, but we hope to hold another meeting probably within the next month to review goals of the committee and to look at plans for capital improvements during the summer months and projects for maintenance during the summer months. That's it.
Thank you, Todd. Next is the Board Finance Committee. Jim Carey.
The
Finance Committee has not met since our last meeting. Sorry to disappoint. We do need to have a meeting, though, prior to April so that we can start to do some work on our 5-year forecast, take a look at some of the issues that are arising in Springfield relative to pension funding and how that might impact district finances either sometime in the future. And then also get prepared for the next series of negotiations with the LFEA Teachers Union. So there will be a meeting between now and April, but a date has yet to be set. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any liaison reports? I would like to mention that the Policy Committee did meet. Monty Edson, Todd Bergner, and I met along with the District 67 Policy Committee to go over some of the suggestions that were made at the District 67 level by the SAFER report and how that might apply to the high school, and also social networking as an issue and updating policies in that arena as well. We'll be meeting again in April to further that. Action items. First action item, the approval of continued membership with NSSED. Dr. Griffith.
Okay, board members, I'm going to do a little introduction and then Dr. Cooley will assist me with a little bit more of the particulars. Some years ago, the high school board embarked on a number of measures to look at streamlining costs in our organization without sacrificing the quality of education. Over the past 7-8 years, the board has participated in a shared service program that has resulted in at least a dozen administrative personnel from departments ranging from maintenance and operations to payroll and accounts payable, where we've looked at redundant costs between our two districts of 67 and 115, and we've been able to, off of audited reports, accrue millions of dollars worth of savings. Given the state of the economy that began in a major change, and as we all know, in 2008, it started preceded some of that in 2007. We also have taken really strong steps to reduce administrative personnel by about 26% in our organization, as well as look at teaching positions and other staff support areas, resulting in about reduction of 30 full-time equivalent positions in our district. We've had to turn over every stone. We've looked at every part of our operation that we can. I would say that the fact that we have the lowest tax rate in the state of Illinois and maintain our AAA rating, while simultaneously having the highest test scores in the history of Lake Forest High School for 6 consecutive years, is an attribution, I think, to our students, our staff, and all that have been involved in an amazing planning effort that's gone on. I can't say final because this is a continuous improvement process, but one important stone was to look at a very significant part of our budget without sacrificing the quality of services, and that was in special education. Special education all across America has become a very important part of all school programs, but one also that can be quite costly. Lake Forest High School joined many years ago, several decades ago, joined in a co-op operation with other area school districts, generally along the North Shore, 18 school districts, most of them in Cook County, to form what is called the NSSED, the North Suburban Special Education District. At one time, this was an effort to try to streamline costs, take care of redundancy between the districts. And over time, it is such a wonderful co-op that our high school began to gravitate students to NSSED classrooms, generally housed in the Highland Park NSSED facility, which is actually on the borderline with between Deerfield and Highland Park. So over time, this became quite a few students, and we were being charged on a tuition basis. There was a lot of administrative overhead that was associated with that. And so when as we began to turn our attention to another area of our operations, special education, we began to realize that there could be some changes in the model that we were participating in with NSSED by bringing our own students home. And that sort of became internally our theme. Let's bring our kids home. And we did that sort of program by program, year after year. And I want to say many kudos to our staff, our NSSED staff in our high school, as well as our own staff, in accommodating for a pretty big change, an epic change, I would say, at Lake Forest High School. Our study 3 years ago gave us the hint that perhaps we could do things just as efficiently with just the quality of education that we've had in the past, but in a with greater savings than what we're expending. And I want to thank Dr. Julie Cooley, our board members, Nikki Snoblin, followed by Monty Edson, who have all participated at the board level of NSSED to help work with NSSED to look at a different delivery system. And that has happened. The NSSED has recently, after a couple of years of effort, has launched a new direction. They're going to a more consultative model and less to one that is just classroom driven for classrooms for the participating 18 school districts of the NSSED co-op. So tonight is the culmination of all of that effort that Dr. Cooley is here to give an outline for the board. This represents, tonight's recommendation represents, I think, a good quality step for our students of our own community, but as well as with some pretty significant savings associated with this. So, Dr. Cooley, thank you.
I just would like to say that it was Marilyn Harlow who was on the NSSED board from our board previous to Monty, and she did outstanding work. So.
Well, good evening, board members, and I agree, and in terms of giving Marilyn some credit, she certainly had a big part in this. So it's been an interesting journey and a collaborative journey. District 115's partners have been Lake Forest District 67 and Lake Bluff District 65. So if we all looked together as we examined the programs and did all of the things that Dr. Griffith has already mentioned, you know, and I think the best part of a process is when you put the interests of our students at the forefront of that, and then without really knowing exactly where you're going to end up, and that clearly is true of the process that we've just engaged in. I wouldn't have predicted the current result, you know, if I tried at the very beginning. So I think a lot of good work went into it. We had a lot of parent input, a lot of parent involvement in the process, and they clearly, you know, helped shape the current place we're at. So I'm going to focus just on the major changes, and then there'll be a motion here in the agenda for you to consider. But we wanted to have program options for all our special education students in District 115. Formerly, the majority of our students have always been with us, but there was one program option we just didn't have in Lake Forest, and that was for our students with significant disabilities or developmental disabilities from age 18 through their 21st birthday, or until they're 22. So there was actually no program for them. We always had to send them into Highland Park, whereas every other type of student could have had a program option. So we wanted to establish that. We also have a program in our district called the Life Skills Program that has been in our district for many, many years. It's been embraced by our community and by our school, but it's simply, the teachers were simply NSSED employees. So we want to shift that over, and part of the human resources report includes shifting those personnel. The exciting part of this whole process really has been the transition program, that program for the 18 to 21-year-olds. I think that our vision and the vision that our parents now have for their students' future in Lake Forest is much, much stronger than prior to starting this process. We're very happy that we've settled on here at West Campus for that location. We looked at a number of different things, but I think we're going to get every nook and cranny of this building, into play here in the very near future. The strongest reason for us doing it here at West Campus is that there currently is a similar program right here in the Sally Potter program from CEDAL. And so to have a larger program, to have more students involved, and to partner and share resources and a variety of things, that's all made possible by having the program out here at West Campus. So we can look forward to talking about that, how that just really shapes up in the future. But everyone is on board. Their supervisors are on board. Their superintendent, Tom Moline, and Dr. Griffith have met on this project. So the motion tonight is to hire the staff. They're raring to go. We have a lot of planning yet that we've done, but we have a lot of planning, last steps, and parents are anxious to know the end result of the board meeting tonight. Any other questions?
Board members, questions?
Not a question, just a comment. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for engaging the parents the way you have. I know initially there was a lot of unease about this in the community, and with good reason, because people thought that it was going to be an upheaval for this very vulnerable student population. I think it was handled extremely well, and it became a win-win for the students and the district and the taxpayers. And I think we also did a service to all of the other schools in the consortium, because it was one of the factors that caused NSSED to re-examine their fee structure, and I think that it's going to work out better for all the districts involved, not just us. So I'm pleased with the outcome. I hope that the families are as well, and good work. Thanks.
They're very happy, and Nikki, and thank you for those comments. You're absolutely right about the restructuring and how it's helped all the districts.
Okay, so board members, just to clarify, so by bringing home our transition program, and pretty much it's a federal mandate that we provide some life skill service educational support for 18 to age 22-year-old kids who graduate. It's a transition program. Every school district in America is obligated to do that, and I think it's going to be a wonderful thing to have our students back with us. But in the consultative model that has now been adopted by the NSSED, we are projecting from the business office savings of about $400,000 over the next 5 years. That's something I think we can be proud of without the diminishment of services for our kids too. So once again, I think it's an example of turning over every rock that we can and do it in a way that is with dignity and support for families, students, and staff alike. So with this action, with this recommendation tonight, the work will begin. It's been 3 years of study, but if you do support this, our staff will have a lot of work ahead to get this all reoriented for us.
Okay, no other questions? Thank you very much, Dr. Cooley, and thank you all for the work that you have been doing for the past 3 years.
Yeah, you know what I forgot to also, I don't think there was any board member that spent more time and was more deliberate and more helpful in the entire NSSED community, all 18 school districts, than Marilyn Harlow. So let me say in the back end of our report, thank you for reminding me, Nikki. Marilyn Harlow did a great job of helping create the first finance committee ever that NSSED ever had, that Dr. Cooley stepped in to help Marilyn with too, that our board members inherited. So I think that was a big part of it too. So I know Marilyn's not here with us, but her legacy lives.
I'll call Marilyn tomorrow and find out if her ears were ringing tonight. Let her know why.
Well, I didn't want to accidentally take credit for what she did because she was amazing.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the continued membership of NSSED?
I move that District 115 continue its relationship with NSSED and rescind the withdrawal notice previously submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the action item list is the approval of the Human Resources Report.
All right, board members, again, we have our Jennifer Knight is here for that. Thank you, Jennifer.
Hi again. Just a few brief points about our report. I'm sure you noticed that this month's report was much thicker than it has been in recent years, or in recent months, I'm sorry. And that is because we are already looking towards next fall. Our sectioning and staffing are both well underway. We're starting to look at the hiring that we're going to need for next year. And in that hiring, we're thinking about not only how we can best support the instruction going on in the classroom, but we're also thinking about what our move towards greater technology and more varied use of technology in our buildings and in our classrooms will need from us at a staffing level. So that's actually kind of an exciting component to think about as we move forward. I also want to mention one other piece that happened at our March 2nd Institute Day. We had Linda Rich, who is our current union president, and Jim Sullivan present together the ideas and the suggested rubric that have come out of their work and our larger faculty members' work on evaluations this year. So that was pretty exciting for all of us to see, and a great joint effort on the part of both administration and union leadership to come together and present what they've been working on as a team. Afterward, we had the entire faculty come together in small groups and give us some feedback on the work done thus far, and we will continue to move forward as a group and try and come up with a document and a process that helps us grow as instructors and as evaluators, so on both sides of it. The last piece I wanted to reference, and this is actually also looking forward, is we are starting to plan some of our KTIs, some of our professional development over summer, and even a couple last in the school year where our teachers are going to carry on right through the end of the school year, just like our students. We have one coming up, a book club coming up on technology and instruction. So starting to have our teachers talk together about how they can bring technology into their instruction. We also have one that is going to focus specifically on the work of Charlotte Danielson. That's where a lot of our district and many other districts are building our rubric around evaluation. So we're going to have teachers really get into that and learn some of the details out of her work. And the last one that we have scheduled for this summer is a KTI focused on using e-textbooks. It has been a road that we have started exploring, and with Apple in the game now, I am guessing that high schools all around the nation are going to start exploring it. Apple just got in partnership with some of the major textbook companies, and so we anticipate that that will be a road that will all of a sudden turn into a highway. And we want to make sure that we're ready for it. So we already have some faculty members interested in pursuing that this summer. So
Yeah,
a lot of
sticking with the metaphor, there'll be an acceleration toward greater activity in e-book opportunities for our teachers and students.
assuming that Apple knows anything about education and marketing, which, I mean, that's an assumption that one might make. They seem to do okay. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any questions from board members? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the Human Resources Report?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. Is there any item that a board member would like to have removed from the consent agenda at this time? All right, hearing none, the consent agenda tonight consists of the approval of the financial report and schedule of checks written, the approval of minutes of a regular meeting from February 13th, and minutes of an executive session from February 13th, the adoption of a resolution for designation of depositories, the adoption of a resolution, the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Funds, plus, the adoption of resolution authorizing Northern Trust Bank signers, the approval of revised stabilized service option form, and the disposal of audio recordings from March 9th, 2010. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Bergner?
Aye.
Mrs. Snoblin?
Aye.
Mr. Carey?
Aye.
Mrs. Golan?
Aye. Motion carries. There were 2 FOIA requests last month, one from Chris Yee of YG Commemorative and one from Andrew Schroeder from the Better Government Association. Are there any items that board members would like to see on future agendas? Hearing none, the announcements are Friday, March 16th is the end of the 3rd quarter. Friday, March 23rd, spring break begins at the end of the school day. Monday, April 2nd, school reopens. Friday, April 6th is a day of non-attendance. And Tuesday, April 10th is our next Board of Education meeting here at 7 o'clock in the boardroom. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.